Well, coming up on this episode, we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes that buyers are making today. We want to make sure you're not doing the same thing as these people are so that you can get that home and get that mortgage locked up and be on your way. That's coming up next here on the Smart Mortgage Show. Well, hello and welcome in. Glad to have you on the show. Once again, I am Ben George with Bill Litton. This is the Smart Mortgage Show, where we cover a wide range of mortgage and lending questions and concerns from both the purchasing and refinancing position. We do so, as always, with Bill Litton at Cross Country Mortgage. Bill, good to talk to you again. How are you?
Ben, doing great. Enjoying the spring here and moving into summer, and housing market's heating up here in southeastern Pennsylvania. So all signals are go and everything's good.
Very good to hear that. If you have questions as we go through today's episode, we always encourage you to reach out. 484-352-4151. You'll find everything online at smartmortgageshow.com. Today, Bill, we're talking about mistakes. And I know, one big priority that you have and your team have across country is education, right? It's clear by the show that we do and the videos that you put out on a consistent basis that the goal is to try to inform and educate people. And I know we talked about in your meetings, even if you're not the best fit for what somebody's looking for in a mortgage, you'll try to help them find that. So today I want to talk about some of the mistakes because, look, no matter how many times you bought a house, you're still liable to make a few mistakes along the way, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I think that it's a really big purchase. There's a lot of variables and considerations, and the more things that you can get right, I think the happier you're going to be in the end with your purchase.
All right, so I'm going to run down a few of the mistakes. Bill will explain why they're mistakes, what you can do to correct them, and help you better understand the home buying process. So first thing, Bill, putting off a pre-approval. We've talked about the importance of a pre-approval. Why can it be a big mistake to not go ahead and get this done?
So I think there's two main reasons. One would be if we call it mortgage planning. If we do the mortgage planning up front, if there's any issue that we need to address, we've got a lot of time and runway to be able to address an issue, fix a problem, bump up a credit score, work a little overtime, save a little more money, pay off a collection or whatever it takes. But sometimes those things take time. And if you're under the gun making an offer, and you don't have time to address those, you still might qualify, but maybe the terms won't be as favorable, or maybe you don't qualify. So mortgage planning up front, great idea.
And this can also just kind of give you a better idea of what to expect and what you can afford. I think that's important too, right? Because you don't want to go out, find that home, all of a sudden you identify your dream house, the place that you kind of set your heart on now, and then you get into the office with yourself at Cross Country, and the reality had said, well, maybe this is out of my range.
Ben, you took the words out of my mouth on number two, because this is really important. What I hear a lot is, I have an 800 credit score. We make a lot of money. We have no debt. We're putting 20% down. So that person doesn't need runway to correct issues. But what they might need is, instead of running through a house on a Friday night, offers are due on Saturday morning, you're now rushing the pre-approval process, and half of your brain is on just the, not the mysteries of pre-approval, but just doing it. And then really not knowing exactly what those numbers are going to look like. You'll qualify, but you're not exactly sure of the payments, the rate. The experience of having half of your attention there, and then the other half of your attention trying to take in this house, the experience is degraded considerably. So get the mortgage in place. Let us answer all your questions. We'll go through loan estimates top to bottom. Make sure you have a full understanding. This way you go into the house, your attention's 100% on the house that you might buy, so that you can make the best decision about, is this the right house?
Yeah. And so that, as you mentioned, number two is just holding out for perfection. That's a mistake a lot of buyers make. And maybe this is something the agents have to deal with more than you do, Bill, but I'm sure you still see that, right? Where somebody just is saying, I need this, this, and this, and I can't quite find it. And as we've talked about, and to your point on credit score, there's a lot of different factors that go into it, right? Credit score, there's down payment, there's just a lot of these different things. And sometimes you got to be flexible one way or another. And then also on your side, with the lending side, there might be options beyond that 20% that make a lot of sense for you, especially as you've always talked about, to line up with your overall financial goals.
Great point. So perfection. I think there's an old saying like perfection is the enemy of, man, I can't remember
Progress
the
or something like that.
progress. Right. So we'll go with that for sure, Ben, because that makes sense, right?
We'll stamp that. Yeah.
Perfection is the enemy of progress. And so what we see sometimes is people want to try and check every single box. It's got to have everything. We work with a lot of great realtors. The great realtors can help them to have a vision for, well, it checks 8 of the 10 boxes, but on these 2, we can make a compromise, or we can, add the bonus room or knock down a wall or whatever it takes. So I think it is, go for the house that checks most of the boxes, because you're probably not going to find the unicorn that checks all of them. And the other piece there, Ben, and again, you hit the nail on the head, is right now rates are high. And we have a lot of people that are looking for the perfect, hey, this house didn't get bid up. We actually got it under market value, and we need rates to come down. And you could wait for those things to happen, but chances are the house values aren't going to come down. They're going to keep climbing. And whatever you pay extra in the interest on a higher interest rate loan, you're going to save in paying less on the purchase price. So the cost of that interest is not going to outpace the increase in the cost of the house. So if you wait, you might get the 5.5% rate next year, but you paid more for the house. So is it right timing for everybody to buy a house right now? Not at all. But if your reason for waiting is timing the market and looking for the perfect storm or the perfect scenario, it's not a good idea. You're probably not going to time it correctly.
Yeah, there is no perfect timing in life typically, right? I mean, in all different areas, and home buying is no different. You can only control what's on the market. You can only have the options of what's on the market, so you're not going to be able to find everything you want necessarily, but having some flexibility there, not holding out for perfection, which is one of the big mistakes that buyers make. All right. The other big one, Bill, is just buying more house than you can afford. I know we've talked about it before. You can get pre-qualified maybe for a bigger number than maybe what makes sense for you to actually be spending, right? I think I even shared my experience in the past where I saw the number that we were approved for and or pre-qualified for. And I said, I don't know that I'd be comfortable spending that much, but not everybody feels that way.
Yeah. Well, we always say there is the number that you're pre-approved for, right? This is what the bank is comfortable lending you, but way more importantly is, what are you comfortable with from a monthly payment standpoint, a cash out of pocket standpoint? So we need to always make sure that we're making informed decisions. Before you sign a real estate contract, let us run the numbers for you. You'll see exactly what the payments are based on the rates on that day and the real estate taxes on that house, because the real estate taxes have a really big impact. So go in eyes wide open, full transparency, and we really help you to do that. And the other thing we always encourage people to do is make a budget and include in your budget a line item for home maintenance. Because some people, I hear them say like, well, what if the hot water heater breaks and it's not if, it's when. It's something's going to break. You're going to have to repair it. You should have a repair and maintenance item in your monthly budget. Also, what's your savings? But like if you're a saver, you don't want to put yourself into a mortgage that now precludes you from being able to save. So budgeting is really important in understanding what you can afford.
Yeah, I think you've talked about, when you look at your other financial goals too, when you talk about a budget, just, if you have ideas of, or you got kids going to college, or, you're saving for something in particular, or, you got a big expense coming up, all these things need to be factored in. And that's part of the conversation you have with people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to understand the full financial picture, and our philosophy on that is, how can you not? This is the biggest debt encumbrance that most people will ever take on in their life. The amount of debt that they take and their ability to handle it largely directs their financial future. So we really need to understand how this fits into the full financial picture.
All right. One last one then, Bill, I want to throw your way and help people with, and that's not working with a real estate agent. And we could even say a local one, but even in this environment we're in right now, I think there's a lot of people wondering, hey, is there value? Am I getting what I'm paying for when I'm working with a real estate agent?
So great great question, great point. So I think a big mistake people are making is not working with a real estate agent. I work with lots and lots of really great realtors. They are professional. They are detailed. They are compassionate, helpful. I'll tell you that again, going back to the biggest purchase you're ever going to make in your life, you want somebody on your side. There's a lot of noise in the news, especially with these NAR settlements and, the way that agents are going to have to operate going forward. And we believe that largely they're going to operate in a similar fashion that they always have operated in. But because there's a lot of noise out there, we hear people saying, do we really need to work with a realtor? And I think it comes down to, you will be much better served working with a real estate agent, making all of the right decisions and them guiding you through the process versus, cutting a real estate agent out of the transaction. Or here's the big one too, Ben, is, I don't want, the listing agent doesn't want to pay the buyer's agent. So I'm going to go right to the listing agent. Most realtors that I know, they don't really like that situation because they feel conflicted. How can we evenly represent both sides? When you go to the listing agent, they've already formed a relationship with the seller. They're not really your advocate. You need your own advocate. And, the reason our housing market operates the way it does is the free flow of real estate transactions in a safe manner. People feel safe. They feel like they can get through it. They feel like they're not going to get themselves in financial trouble. That is all happening because of the real estate agent.
Absolutely. A lot of value there, and they work very hard for you. And again, if you have questions, I know Bill has worked with a number of real estate agents, can kind of help you, point you in the right direction if you have questions about that. But as always, the bottom line on all this discussion is mistakes can cost you time. They can cost you money, obviously frustration as well. You want to work with someone that is a professional that does this every day, that can help you avoid these missteps along the way. Cross Country Mortgage can help you with that. Again, if you want to get in touch, the best way to do that is calling 484-352-4151, or just check out smartmortgageshow.com. You'll find all of our episodes there, our videos, and much more on the website. Good stuff, Bill, as always. I know hopefully this maybe, if we corrected maybe one misstep along the way from someone watching, we've done our job. But I know these are all very important as you're going through the home buying process. So thanks for pointing these out with us today.
Yeah. And as Ben, as you've mentioned, please reach out to us because we're always here to help. Any questions, give us a shout. We'll talk through your problem and help you figure out a way to not make these mistakes.
Very good. Well, thank you for watching. We appreciate you listening as well. Please subscribe wherever it is. And if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button as well. We'd appreciate your support. Thanks again. As always, Bill, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much.
This program is for informational purposes only. Please consult a qualified professional before taking any action. Bill Litton is a loan advisor and regional president with Cross Country Mortgage, NMLS number 147060.